What's up everyone, it's Karthik with MoneyVest. So in this video we are going to be talking about Palantir stock hitting a huge milestone of well over $30 a share for the first time in a long time. That pushed over 98%, almost 99% of investors in the green. And that is actually quite a crazy statistic. It is absolutely wild to now see that 99% of investors in Palantir are in the green, with a very, very small 1% of investors still in the red, including myself. No, I'm just kidding. If you are in the red right now, comment down below. We're going to pick you up and we're going to rocket over to the moon. I'm just kidding. But we are on a very, very nice, significant rally here for Palantir. Incredible gain. And this right here is the average cost distribution for Palantir. I've got a lot of statistics and a lot of data in this video for all of you. If you enjoy these videos, and I'm actually trying something out, I'm trying something new. I've essentially gone over all of Palantir's historical prices and tried to extrapolate as much useful data as possible that's going to help us in our understanding of the overall price action. We're going to take a look at the fundamentals, of course. We're going to take a look at the technical analysis, but this is a little bit more out of the box solution when it comes to data. I can assure you that nobody is doing analysis like this on any platform when it comes to historical data like this. So all I'm asking in return is that you drop a like and share this with other Palantir investors. And I would really appreciate that. Help them subscribe, help them join our community so that it's word of mouth just like this and recommendation that helps us grow our channel and of course get a more engaging discussion around individual stocks. So Palantir, like I said, almost 99% of investors are now profitable and in the green for Palantir shares. This right here is another video that I posted not too long ago. So 3 days ago I essentially posted this, breaking down my entire understanding of Palantir's earnings. So this right here was a breakdown of the earnings that they reported, record revenues, record profit, GAAP numbers coming in very strong. So make sure that you do check out this video if you haven't already. It's almost 20 minutes long, breaking down everything that Alex Karp, Ryan Taylor, everyone mentioned during the earnings call, with the expansion of contracts with the different agencies and countries and of course companies, as well as the growth that they have witnessed and how important they are to the Western world when it comes to the battlefield, the warfare, as well as data analysis and scientific analysis across many different verticals. So definitely do check out. I think it's going to be super helpful in the context of overall Palantir stock. So this right here, a couple different articles that I wanted to break down, some news. And first things first, Palantir reaching a new 52-week high at over $29, almost $30. Actually closed well over $30 on the day, marking a significant milestone for a data analytics firm. And this peak represents a substantial gain from the previous year, as the company has witnessed an impressive over 91% increase in the stock price. And of course we had a significant amount of price upgrades. Goldman's echoed this positive sentiment, raising its price target to $16. That's great. And Citi increased its price target for Palantir to $30, which we just hit on the company. We're going to go over all this data. I've got a lot of things for you in this video. So this right here is where we are, well over $30 closed for Palantir, up over 2.5%. So congratulations to all Palantir shareholders. This is the first time we're seeing this level since February of 2021. So it's been well over 3 years before Palantir got up to this level. And from its lows of December 2022, it has seen a 385% rally. As we have discussed, that rally essentially began right after Palantir became profitable. So if you come over to the fundamental analysis, you come over to the quarterly numbers for the last 8 quarters, take a look at gross profit. Very strong compared to the revenue. As you can see that it's been incredibly consistent quarter over quarter, year over year. Everything's moving in the right direction. That's exactly what we like to see. But really what I want you to focus on is the bottom line. So take a look at the net income. And this is really where the switch happened. You come over to this. You know what? Let's go over to 16 quarters. You can see it more clearly. And this right here, actually, let's just go over to 12 quarters, because this quarter right here is going to really skew the data a little bit. So let's go over to 12 quarters and boom, right there. It's much better. As you can see that this right here, loss-making company, that flip happened in the last quarter of 2022 when it actually turned into a GAAP net income of $33 million. And since then, Palantir has not looked back. It has been on a consistent, profitable every single quarter, very nice numbers. And as we discussed in the earnings call video as well, that the growth plans for the company are massive. And the company also mentioned, Alex Karp mentioned, that the best years and the best days for Palantirs are not behind us, they are ahead of us. And that was a very, very bold statement to begin with. So very nice rally coming up to its resistance of over almost $30 per share. Now, this is where things get interesting. And this is the data that I really want to break down. But before I go there, I just want to briefly go over some of the negative catalysts that has also come out. Few analysts on Seeking Alpha suggesting why I'm holding off on Palantir stock due to overvaluation concerns. Palantir historic Q2 results, but not worth buying yet. And there is still going to be some negative headlines, or essentially people opinionated suggesting for why Palantir is overvalued. So I want to be very clear that Palantir on an absolute basis trading at 100 times earnings multiple and a price to sales which is well in the double digits. So if you come over to the company's valuation right now, so market cap sitting at well over $67 billion based on revenue numbers of last year of $2.2 billion. I mean, we're looking at well over, 30 times sales. So if you come over to statistics, 28.5 to be precise. So we're almost at 30 times sales multiple and a little bit over 100 times 2024 earnings multiple. So both of those multiples are indeed very, very high. So with all due respect to all bulls, including myself, I think we have to acknowledge the objectivity of these numbers, that Palantir in itself, on an absolute basis, trades at an expensive valuation. I think nobody can really argue that fact. It is, although subjective at the end of the day, valuation is subjective. It's really the value is derived from the eye of the beholder, right? So if you're an investor in Palantir and you see this huge potential, you would most likely disregard all the valuation concerns. But if you are somebody who is, a little bit more value oriented, you will still make the case that Palantir, yes, trades at a expensive valuation, and then you can, of course, decide whether you're okay taking on that risk or you're not. For me personally, after acknowledging the very fact that Palantir is trading at an expensive valuation, I'm still okay with that risk because that risk reward is still, in my eyes, very good. Because even after the 100 times or a 28 times sales multiple or 100 times earnings multiple, Palantir's long-term growth still makes sense for me to take on that risk, take on that valuation risk. So I think it's really important for each investor, each analyst to do their own analysis and understand that 100 times earnings is high, 20 times sales is high, and then you can decide if you're okay investing despite such high multiples. So I think that's a valuation concern that is going to be very much investor to investor. From a business standpoint, I think we can all agree that Palantir solves a massive problem. They are at the cusp of this massive market when it comes to data science, data analytics, and using artificial intelligence on top of that brings this huge layer where they can implement their services, their solutions over to different verticals, and they can unlock a lot of different markets. So from a business perspective, from a management perspective, I think most people can be on the same page, trying to understand that Palantir has always had great potential, but from a valuation perspective, I think there can be some subjectivity in our analysis, and every person is going to be differing in terms of opinions of whether Palantir is fairly valued, overvalued, undervalued, depending on where you see that potential over the long term. So like I said, for me, Palantir is an expensive stock, but the risk reward still justifies for me to be in it and continue to buy it at reasonable prices. Now, coming over to the data here, which I think is going to be super helpful. And again, let me know in the comments section down below if you actually enjoy data like this, because it's gonna really put things in perspective a little bit. And I'm going to be planning to do this with a lot of different stocks and a lot of different indices and ETFs. So again, if you enjoy these types of videos and you enjoy these types of data analytics, and I know I'm not using Palantir to do my data analytics here, let me know in the comments. Please do comment if you enjoy these types of videos. That would really bring more inspiration and, of course, help me understand that this is exactly what you guys are looking for. This is going to be more towards the trading side of things. From an investment side, I think we already discussed Palantir is on a nice potential growth trajectory here. Massive market, valuation is a bit of a concern, but overall risk reward does justify investing, in my opinion, for Palantir long term. We're talking 5, 7, 10 years out. But this is just essentially talking about the entire Palantir's history for the stock price. So this is the type of data and analysis that you'll never find anywhere. Going back as far as September of 2020, when the first price was IPO'd at $9.50. That's where it actually closed, all the way till right now when it's trading at $30 a share on August 9th, 2024. So just under 4 years is what we have seen Palantir's price action. And what I've done here is that I've essentially taken into account the percentage change. This is the daily percentage change and the win or the loss and the streaks that we have seen from Palantir. So the interesting data begins now. The longest winning streak on a daily basis has been 8 days for Palantir. So what does that mean? That means that there's been 3 occurrences of an 8-day winning streak for Palantir. So we have never seen 9 consecutive days in a row that are green for Palantir. That's what that means. The longest daily losing streak has been 10 days, and it's only happened once. It's happened between April 27, 2021 and May 10th, 2021. If you want to see that on the chart, you can see that. The information here, the data is 100% accurate, and you can pretty much validate it by looking at the chart. And the longest daily win streak, the most recent one at least, started in September in 2022. There's been 3 occurrences of 8 consecutive days of green for Palantir. So you can actually validate this data again using this spreadsheet. So if you come down to September 2022, so this right here is going to be September 2022, and that's going to start over here. We're talking September 23rd. I just need to update that number. This is not 3rd, but this is 23rd. Just want to be very clear. So September 23rd, 2022 through October 4th, 2022, as you'll notice that at that point, Palantir was at $7.40. First green day, second green day, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, all the way down here to October 4th when it was trading at $8.46. And this was the 8 consecutive days of green for Palantir the last time we saw that. There's been 3 occurrences of that. So just to put things in perspective, we have never seen 9 days consecutively green for Palantir, and we've also not seen 11 days consecutively losing for Palantir. The longest streak we have seen is 10 days for Palantir for losses. So total trading days between its IPO and up until yesterday, Friday, has been 970, of which 48% have been green, 52% have been red. So it's been a bit of a coin flip for Palantir to be green versus red. But if you come down to the different buckets over here, and before we actually start looking at streaks, let's talk about the different percentiles for where we are. So Palantir's closing price of $30.01. That's where we are at the moment. As you'll notice, $30.01 is the closing price for Friday. Puts us in the 98th percentile for all historical prices going back almost 4 years. So 99 percentile, if you cross over $33, we are going to be in the 99 percentile of all historical prices. And of course, when it was trading down in the low 6s, we were at a really, really low level. We were in the 1 percentile for Palantir. Pretty much a very, very rare occurrence. 50th percentile, which is the median value, that's been around $16.74, almost $17. And the interesting thing is, it's actually quite interesting, and I'm not sure if Webull actually calculates their average cost basis like this, but if you take a look at the current price of $30.01 and the percentile of 98%, that is exactly what we saw during over here, almost exactly at 98.39%. So that is how many investors or shares are currently profitable on Palantir after this rally. So it's a coincidence. Maybe it's not, but it's actually quite interesting to see that the current price of $30 is in itself a huge record for Palantir, putting us in the 98th percentile. Now, coming over to some win streaks and some loss streak, I think this is going to be super incredible and interesting data for all of you. And again, we start doing this analysis for other stocks and other indices as well. So total green days, 468. Total red days, 502 since inception of its IPO. Over 1 day of green, we've seen 234. Over 2 days of green, we've seen 125 days. 125 streaks, I should say, not days. 125 streaks of 2 days in consecutive green. 3 days of win streak, we've seen 60 streaks. 4 days, 29. 5 days, 9. 6 days, 4. 7 days, 4. 8 days, only 3. As I mentioned, that's the longest streak we have seen on a daily consecutive win for Palantir. That's only 3 occurrences. When it comes to losing streaks, again, you'll notice the max we've seen is 10 consecutive days. Only once. We've seen 2 streaks each for 8 and 9 consecutive losing days for Palantir. So the reason why I feel this is going to be interesting data is because once we start getting into those streaks again, so for example, if Palantir sees 6 consecutive days of green or 7 consecutive days of green, you can start to become a little bit more cautious, right? So if you want to sell calls, you can start looking at selling calls, right? A little bit close to the money calls as well, because then you will be pretty confident, understanding that there's been historically, there's only been 3 times when Palantir has seen 8 days of consecutive wins, and the probability for us to see a red day or a down day is going to increase significantly. And even from a basis of what percentage of times it actually has happened, right? Less than 1%, right? For all these 3 streaks of 6, 7, and 8 days of consecutive wins has happened less than 1% of the times. So that again gives you a bit more perspective in terms of probability on how to essentially look at your trades, the risk reward, and again, selling calls versus selling puts, buying calls versus buying puts as well. So this right here is again for the losing streak as well. So of course, right now we are up for 2 days. So right now the current streak is 2 consecutive days of green, because we saw that Thursday was green, up over 11%, and Friday we were up 2.4. So that's the number 2 over here. As you can see, that is 2 consecutive days green for Palantir. So we're still here. So this is where we are for this particular analysis, which is in the 26% of the times. The all combined, all the green days, the 2 days of win streak has happened 26.7% of the time. So for example, if Monday is also green for Palantir, now we're heading into the 13% of the times, then 6% of the times, and less than 2% of the times. If we say 5 days of green for Palantir, then we're going to really start dipping into some rare environments for Palantir stock. Not saying that it can go higher, of course it can. But there's going to be some pullbacks along the way, because that's how markets and that's how individual stocks work. They don't just move up in a straight line. They go up, they come down, they go up, they come down. And we're trying to understand the different distribution of those returns and those streaks along the way. So hope you all enjoyed this video. Let's just quickly go over to some technicals. And this right here is going to be the entire technical breakdown on Palantir, as well as we have discussed in our previous videos. Very nice, consistent higher highs and higher lows. We did kind of break down on Monday morning. I picked up shares on Monday morning right at the open. So, on those shares, we're already up a little bit over 30 at almost 40%. So if you want to get access to all the alerts, figure out what exactly are we as a community buying, selling, holding, what are we discussing about in the markets, fundamental, technicals, macros, data, everything is going to be available. Link's going to be down below if you want to join. But now we're coming up to that resistance once again for Palantir. So in and around that $30, $35 per share is going to be a huge resistance, exactly where we have gotten rejected for Palantir in the past. And of course, the all-time high sits well over $44, $45 per share. So a few things that I want you to remember here. That fundamentally speaking, valuation is a bit of a concern. It is an expensive stock, but even after that, I believe it to be a good risk-reward proposition for the long term. My fair value, of course, is going to be a little bit lower than where it's trading at the moment. I think it sits well in the low 20s when it comes to the intrinsic value for Palantir from a fundamental basis. Technical analysis, very nice, consistent uptrend, higher highs and higher lows. Over 98, almost 99% of shareholders are now in the green for Palantir. And based on the data, we are now in the 98th percentile of all historical prices for Palantir since IPO. And we're also seeing a 2-day win streak at the moment. If that continues, then of course we're going to be dipping lower and lower in terms of the probability for us to keep seeing green. Another way to say this is that if we continue to see green days, the probability for us to see more green days comes down because of the historical streaks that we have witnessed for Palantir. So hope you all enjoyed this video, found it helpful. Make sure that you drop a like and subscribe to the channel. As always, happy investing. I'll see you all in the next video.